my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part. I didn't do I didn't rig I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about any of this. This world's so up.
Hello there guys, gals, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Leipaladin and today I'm back to give you a review and recap of episode 3 of season 2 of the Halo TV show. My tune is slowly changing when it comes to this show. There's definitely signs of promise in this episode, but still plenty of unfortunate carryovers from season 1 that are dragging it down in some respects. But before we get to that, let's get to the recap. We pick up with Silver Team in a nearby forest approaching Visegrad Relay, searching for Spartan Cobalt Team. Jimmy Rings admits that they're on their own, and that Fleetcom don't believe the Covenant are on Reach. While searching the Visegrad Relay and reactivating the power, Silver Team get radio feedback from the Covenant's jamming frequency, much like the one Chief heard on Sanctuary. Out of the blue, Silver Team are held at gunpoint by several Fleetcom Marines, and one particularly bossy Marine captain who tells them to stand down as they're being brought back to Fleetcom for going rogue. Chief refuses to surrender and arcs up to the captain and demands to know where Cobalt Team is. He forces his way through a nearby door, thinking Cobalt might be on the other side of it, and of course, there's nothing, further adding to the skepticism surrounding Chief and his ability to lead. He's coming off as sounding a bit crazy. Back on planet Reach City. It's so dumb. We get a bit more time with James Ackerson and his deteriorating father, who seems to be going through the throes of Alzheimer's or dementia or something similar. Ackerson tells his father that he might have to leave soon, and he can't take him, foreshadowing a Covenant invasion. His father tells James that he doesn't want to be taken alive by the Covenant. Not like they're going to take you alive anyway. I hate to break it to you, but the Covey's MO is kind of mass extinction, so you don't have to worry about them taking you alive. We also discover that Ackerson's mother and sister have died at some point in the past. This all helps to add a bit more depth to his character, so we don't feel like he's just a total slimy, evil arsehole. We also find out later in the episode that the clone Ackerson was using in Halsey's holographic prison was of his sister, Julia, who, fun fact, was also taken by Halsey at a young age and brought into the Spartan program and didn't survive the augmentations, which explains Ackerson's disdain for Halsey and the Spartans. But Julia also had memories of her brother James and her childhood. This doesn't make a lot of sense with what was established in season 1, as all the Spartans had their memories wiped of their family and of the time before they became Spartans. There was a whole plot point around that. So I don't know why Julia would be the exception to the rule here. Ackerson, who has managed to get Soren after his arrest, reintroduces him to Dr. Halsey, which I'm sure will go about as well as you'd expect. Back at Fleetcom, Silver Team are being berated by Admiral Keyes, who puts them in timeout so they can't go out to play with the other Spartans or go on missions. At some point they changed Cobalt's flight plan from the last episode where Chief saw them going to Visegrad Relay. So my impressions of this? Chief is being set up, likely by Ackerson and Oni, who are trying to drive a wedge between Chief and the rest of the team. Why though, when the Spartans are the best soldiers that humanity has with an almost 100% success rate? Who fucking knows? Maybe it's Ackerson's petty distaste for them after losing his sister, which really just goes to show how much of a twerp this guy is. Like, why help the rest of humanity when I can defecate all over the super soldiers that provide us with the best chance of winning this interplanetary war? Because they killed my sister? Where, get over it, you fucking nerd. And then we go from a pretty neat mystery that's being set up with Silver Team to more crap on the rubble that, again, I couldn't care less for. Soren's wife finally meets up with Quan, who now somehow knows that some bloke called Ruby Ann bought off Soren's crew to get rid of him. I'm sorry, but who the fuck is a Ruby Ann and why do I care? I just spammed the hell out of the fast forward 10 seconds button during this bit because it amounts to nothing. Quan and Kessler make their escape while Soren's wife gets apprehended, then Quan goes back to save her and gets covered in blood again. God, can we just go a season without this poor woman getting her face splattered with food coloring, please? There are all kinds of awful bloodborne diseases. Wash that shit off. They presumably travel to Reach to hopefully find Soren, yada yada yada. Boring. Let's move on. Back on Reach, Reach. Cobalt Team's bodies are riddled with plasma scarring and were retrieved by the Marines who found Silver Team at Visegrad earlier in the episode. Ackerson says that the official story is that Cobalt Team are MIA, no bodies were found, so as to avoid mass panic if the population finds out the Covenant are on Reach. And finally, Keyes stands up for himself, literally telling Ackerson to go fuck himself. Is this the first F-bomb in Halo? I think it might be. Let me know in the comments section below if there was one before that. He confronts Ackerson about Chief's suspicions and them being accurate, and that the winter contingency protocols need to be implemented and civilians evacuated. But Ackerson, being the pessimistic cunt that he is, believes that this battle is already lost. Ackerson apparently has a plan, and this is leading me to believe that the Spartans are going to be put on the front line to buy some time. Spoilers for those of you who aren't aware, but the Spartan 3s or some derivative of them are in this series. They're in the trailers, so it's not a leak or anything, and similar to the Gold timeline, they're probably going to be used as cannon fodder, trading lives to buy time. Despite offering him the option to run and live to fight another day, Key says he's going to stay and fight the Covenant. Chief also meets up with Parangoski over a bowl of ramen. There is something so strange about this show wanting to show us Spartans eating all the time, who tells her that the Cubbies are on Reach. Parangoski apparently never left Oni though, because there's a bunch of Oni spooks just monitoring her, so really everyone is out to get Jimmy Rings in this show. The episode wraps up with Ackerson very unfortunately offing his father, calling back to the "I don't want them to take me alive" line from earlier in the episode. Ackerson brings out one of the flash clones of his sister Julia as a nice way to send him off. Chief goes to find Perez, who confirms that she also saw Marquis in the fog, so Chief isn't entirely insane. Which is kind of a shame, because I was really hoping that this Marquis thing would just be a load of delusional bullshit, but it's not. It's it's real. Perez has also deciphered the Covenant jamming sound thing and translated it, discovering that it's a prayer spoken by an elite who goes full Oppenheimer, proclaiming that they're death, destroyer of worlds or some shit, and then the Coveys attack, leaving us on a cliffhanger ahead of episode 4. So, did it suck? I found myself enjoying this episode in some respects. All the pieces of this puzzle are starting to come together, but I can't help feeling like Ackerson, despite being given some more background and depth in this episode, is just a plot hindrance and an obstacle for the sake of it. This focus on the internal squabbling within the UNSC and ONI is so frustrating, because everyone in senior positions who are making reasonable suggestions like Keyes and Chief are being purposefully undermined at every turn. And yes, I understand that's part of the plot, but surely if you're Ackerson, right? If you're in charge of the Spartan program and essentially the defense of Reach as a whole, humanity's military stronghold, you're going to put your petty disagreements with the Spartans and their creator aside in order to give humanity a chance to win this imminent battle with the Covenant, especially if it's your home planet. I think this season is kind of missing the whole point of what made Halo Reach and the Fall of Reach so great, despite effectively telling the same story. It's that we know how it's going to end, sure, we know Reach falls and the Covenant win. It's the fact that the characters we follow actually try. Can you at least do the bare minimum of giving us a little bit of hope that it's not a lost cause? Suspend our disbelief, which makes for a far more engaging story. Noble Team and Blue Team pull off some really daring missions to try and thwart the Covenant's invasion of the planet, and every time we think they've pulled it off, it just gets worse. There's an escalation of events that makes us feel gradually more and more desperate as a viewer. With the sacrifice of each character, the situation becomes worse, like everything we try to do is worthless in the grand scheme of things. But from day dot here in the TV show, it seems like everyone has just given up and are acting like Reach is already a lost cause. How are we as viewers supposed to feel anything for the fall of Reach and the potential deaths of all these characters when we have folks like Ackerson already telling us that it's a certainty? There's no gradual progression. It's just, right, well, we're fucked, moving on. It's such a defeatist attitude and feels like a spit in the face to what humanity is seen to be like in the Halo games. Well, you know what? Where's that Sergeant Johnson Riz, that big green style that cannot be defeated? Ooh, it's not here in this show. The Covenant, portrayed as a vague CGI menace raining laser beams down from the sky, lacks the palpable threat it should embody. Instead of delving into the dynamics of the Covenant, their religion, more of their hierarchy, etc., and establishing them as compelling villains, moments. The narrative goes off the rails and focuses too much on characters like Quan and co. The time spent on her and the stuff on the rubble could have been better utilized to develop the Arbiter as a character. And with Marquis serving as a human mouthpiece for the Covenant, there is no excuse to not explore them further. We are getting there though. I think I should, close off with that. We are getting closer. I think the next few episodes are going to be balls to the wall. I still wouldn't say that this show is Halo as we might know it. It's not up to the standard that I or many others probably would have wanted a Halo TV show to be, but I won't deny that the writing and direction has stepped up. It's more than stepped up, it's stepped up 3D over the mess that was last season. I'd give this episode a 6 out of 10. It's still not personally my cup of tea, but I am starting to see the appeal. So, what did you think of episode 3? How are you feeling about season 2 of the Halo TV show as a whole? Let me know in the comments below. And for everyone whose name isn't James Ackerson or Jimmy Rings, you should like and subscribe. Do it. You wouldn't. You're way scared. Terrified, in fact. Like you'd run away from Reach at the first sign of trouble kind of scared. You wimp.